Imagine investing all your savings with a Wall Street genius only to find out he's just shuffling money around like a bad magician hiding rabbits. Bernie Madoff didn't just pull off a Ponzi scheme, he threw the ultimate financial illusion that left the world shocked and investors broke. Get ready, this tale is one for the ages. The spark of success, Bernie Madoff's journey to Wall Street fame. Bernie Madoff didn't start out as a villain. Born in Queens, New York in 1938, Madoff grew up in a modest household. In 1960, armed with $5,000 from lifeguarding and installing sprinklers, he founded Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities. Starting small, Madoff operated as a scrappy go-getter on Wall Street, and his firm soon made a name with its innovative market-making strategies, attracting clients who were looking for high returns with low risk. In the 1970s, Madoff played a key role in the development of the Nasdaq and even became a prominent figure in its early days. His firm was among the first to use computerized trading, a technological edge that further solidified Madoff's reputation as a financial pioneer. His charm and polished persona opened doors with prestigious clients, including institutional investors and even charities, who saw him as a trustworthy custodian of their money. Building an illusion. How Madoff used trust to sell his scheme. As Bernie Madoff's reputation soared, he cultivated the image of a financial mastermind offering exclusive, high-yield investments accessible only to a privileged few. His firm's split-strike conversion strategy allegedly guaranteed steady returns, baffling analysts but assuring investors they found the real deal. By turning down clients and keeping an air of mystery, Madoff created a closed club appeal, making investors feel fortunate to join. His method was classic Ponzi, using new investors' money to pay earlier ones. But Madoff's genius lay in his credibility and scale, building a sophisticated illusion that masked the truth and drew in thousands over decades. How major institutions and wealthy investors bolstered Madoff's credibility. Madoff wasn't a lone wolf in his fraudulent enterprise. The involvement of major financial institutions gave his operation a veneer of legitimacy. Institutions such as J.P. Morgan Chase and several European banks were deeply tied to Madoff's operations. J.P. Morgan Chase, in particular, was a key player handling transactions for Madoff for years without raising any red flags, while J.P. Morgan eventually paid a $1.7 billion fine for its role. It was one of many entities that, willingly or not, contributed to the illusion of Madoff's success. Beyond big banks, Madoff's client list included prominent families, wealthy individuals, and even charitable organizations, all of whom saw Madoff as a safe, consistent, and almost bulletproof investment option. This network amplified his image as a financial maestro, creating a cycle where more people wanted to invest simply because everyone else was doing so. This level of acceptance was essential to Madoff's scheme, as his credibility was his strongest asset. A lone voice in the wilderness, Harry Markopoulos's warnings. Not everyone was fooled by Madoff's smoke and mirrors. Financial analyst Harry Markopoulos famously identified Madoff's scheme as a fraud years before it collapsed. Beginning in 2000, Markopoulos sent detailed reports to the Securities and Exchange Commission, outlining exactly why Madoff's returns were too good to be true. In a world of complex market strategies, Madoff's consistent positive returns defied logic. Markopoulos likened it to finding a unicorn, warning that such performance was mathematically impossible in an unregulated market. Despite the compelling evidence, the Securities and Exchange Commission dismissed Markopoulos' reports multiple times, claiming Madoff was above suspicion. Markopoulos' experience underscored the flaws within the Securities and Exchange Commission's oversight mechanisms and revealed how regulators were often outpaced by the very frauds they were supposed to catch. In the end, his warnings would become a testament to the systemic failures that allowed Madoff's scheme to flourish. Family loyalty versus justice, Madoff's sons turned him in. The 2008 financial crisis intensified pressure on Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme, triggering a liquidity crisis as clients sought to withdraw funds. Desperate, Madoff confessed to his sons, Mark and Andrew, that his business was a fraud. Shocked and realizing the crime scale, they made the difficult decision to report him to authorities. Madoff was arrested the following day, marking the start of his public downfall. The scandal deeply affected his family. Mark tragically died by suicide in 2010, and Andrew passed away from cancer in 2014. Their lives were irrevocably scarred by their father's deception. The shockwave, thousands of victims devastated. Madoff's downfall was catastrophic, both in scale and scope. The scheme defrauded more than $65 billion from investors, including individuals, institutions, and charities. Thousands of people lost their life savings, with some left financially destitute. A few investors, facing unimaginable financial ruin, even took their own lives. The extent of Madoff's betrayal was so immense that it left entire families and organizations shattered. Among the victims were nonprofits and philanthropic foundations, which had trusted Madoff to manage their endowments. These organizations were particularly hard hit, as they had to scale back or close their charitable activities. The scandal extended far beyond Wall Street, casting a shadow over countless lives and revealing the heartbreaking human cost of financial fraud on this scale. Rebuilding trust. The historic Madoff Victim Fund. In response to the financial devastation, the U.S. Department of Justice launched the Madoff Victim Fund, an unprecedented initiative aimed at compensating those affected. The Madoff Victim Fund, using recovered assets from Madoff's estates and settlements, has disbursed over $4.2 billion to approximately 40,000 victims worldwide. As of late 2023, the Madoff Victim Fund has restored about 91% of verified losses, providing a measure of justice to the victims who suffered. This massive restitution effort involved clawing back funds from Madoff's assets, as well as settlements with institutions like JP Morgan Chase, which profited indirectly from the scheme. The Madoff Victim Fund's success has been hailed as a rare victory in the often futile pursuit of justice in financial fraud cases. While no restitution can undo the damage, the Madoff Victim Fund's efforts have helped victims regain a degree of financial stability and dignity. Changing the game. How Madoff shaped financial regulations. The collapse of Madoff's Ponzi scheme led to a series of regulatory reforms aimed at preventing similar frauds. In 2010, Congress passed the Dodd-Frank Act, which introduced stricter regulations and accountability measures for financial institutions. The Securities and Exchange Commission, facing immense scrutiny, revised its enforcement processes, focusing on transparency and early detection. Madoff's scandal also prompted the Securities and Exchange Commission to create a whistleblower program, incentivizing insiders to report suspicious activities. These changes have undoubtedly made the financial sector safer, but critics argue that the complexity of financial fraud is evolving faster than regulations can keep up. The Madoff case remains a stark reminder that vigilance and continual adaptation are essential in the fight against fraud. Pop culture icon or villain. Madoff's legacy in media. Madoff's story has been immortalized in books, films, and documentaries, cementing his place as a symbol of greed and betrayal. HBO's The Wizard of Lies, starring Robert De Niro as Madoff, offered a gripping portrayal of the scandal's emotional toll. In 2023, Netflix released Madoff, The Monster of Wall Street, a docuseries that dives deep into his deceptive empire, blending interviews with dramatic reenactments to showcase the scheme's complexity. These portrayals serve as both cautionary tales and entertainment, reflecting the public's fascination with financial crime and the dark allure of Wall Street excess. In popular culture, Madoff is often seen as the ultimate financial villain, a man whose ambition led him to betray even the most vulnerable. His legacy is that of a cultural anti-hero, reminding us of the destructive power of greed. Madoff's life ends in prison. In 2009, Bernie Madoff was sentenced to 150 years in federal prison, effectively ending his life outside of bars at the age of 71. Judge Denny Chen, who imposed the sentence, called Madoff's crimes extraordinarily evil, capturing the magnitude of the $65 billion Ponzi scheme that devastated thousands of investors. Madoff spent his final years at the Butner Federal Correctional Complex in North Carolina, stripped of his wealth and influence and known only as inmate number 617277054. In early 2020, Madoff's request for compassionate release due to terminal kidney disease was denied, with the court finding his crimes too severe for leniency. On April 14, 2021, he died in prison at 82, leaving behind a legacy of unchecked ambition and one of the most notorious financial scandals in history, a cautionary tale of greed's destructive power. And that wraps up the unbelievable tale of Bernie Madoff's financial empire built on thin air. If you enjoyed this wild ride, make sure to like the video and don't forget to subscribe for more future videos. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss a thing. Trust me, the next story is just as shocking.